Race 5 at Ascot jumps at 3:30. It's the Lloyd Meredith Life Member Handicap over 2,200 metres. And once again, we'll head down to Pinjarra to have a look at the most recent start of Jackers Mob.
Marley hugs the rail, then Queen Carnilla back in the middle, and down on the inside is IART. 300 left to go. Tortina grabbed Jackers Mob. In behind them, Our Girl Marley, followed by Doc Fryer. Now flat to the floorboards. IART looking for a rails run. Tortina, Jackers Mob. Jackers Mob fights back, regains the lead. IART, though, squeezing up on his inside. IART, Jackers Mob. It's IART. IART right up against.
Jackers Mob is a good on-speed galloper, and last start it was just nabbed very late by, I think it might be a good horse in IART. We didn't get to see it at its most recent start at Ascot, but I think the Jackers Mob does draw to lead this event, or at least sit in the first two. I think with Troy Turner on board, he knows the horse pretty well, so he would be pretty keen to try and lead this event at a good speed, and if he can do that, it has by far the strongest recent sectionals and figures. So for me, it goes clearly on top from the 2 Throwdown, who does look to be an improving galloper. It steps up a fair bit in distance in this event, which is possibly a small query. But the 2 runs so far this prep, it's been a little bit unlucky. It's been getting far back in a couple of its events, but the ratings have been okay. So it could be an improver in this event. 5 is the 3rd pick, British Bessie, who will get back in the field, but it has a really nice turn of foot. The last start, it was 4 back the fence. I think will be much better suited with a wide draw and being able to use that momentum out wide. And then my 4th pick is the 6 Crackers, who is coming out of a pretty high rating race at York last start. I think all things considered, gate 13 is a small query, but again, it should be a horse that can build plenty of momentum, especially if it gets a little bit of luck early in running. 1 on top in race 5, Jackers Mob from 2 Throwdown, 5 British Bessie and 6 Crackers. Race 6 at Ascot jumps at 4:05. It's the Graham Moss Life Member Handicap over 1,600 metres, and our horse in focus will have a look at the last start performance of Patristic at Ascot.
Sun followed by the Squirt, Majora's Mask, and then Divine Quest still about 6 from the leader. By the 250 though, it's Patristic well out in front. Patristic by about 4 or 5 lengths. Divine Quest is making a contest of it late, coming down the outside, but the leader's got an unassailable break, and Patristic is going to come away and win in a canter. Patristic by nearly 3.5 to Divine.
Patristic had everything in its favour last start, including the scratching of the only other potential leader in Flat Bicky. And in the end, it led around at actually pretty good sectionals, given that it was such a small field, and it was just dominant in the end. It does seem to map in another good position from gate 6, and Troy Turner again knows this horse pretty well. So I'm expecting a couple of good performances from Troy in these 2 races. Patristic's been running good sections. It should be pretty hard to beat based on what it's been doing recently. 2nd pick is the 8 Bold Victory, who gets the tongue tie on in this event. Last start off a slow tempo, we saw a really big 400 and 200 to finish the race. I think it can again settle in a more prominent position like it did last start. It does seem to have a good gait for it in this event. 3rd pick is a 2, which is Langley. It's a very consistent horse. It's having a great prep for the Bairstow camp. Last start, it wasn't really suited. It was about 3 wide without cover for half that event. Seemed to lack a bit of momentum coming around the 600 to the 400. I think it looks better suited in this race. And then 4th pick is the 4, Every Mile of Memory, who's just had a couple of excuses so far. Last time, it was shuffled back in a slowly run race and never really got any room at all in the straight. I think it might be able to improve in this event. 1 on top, Patristic, from the 8 Bold Victory, 2 Langley, and 4 Every Mile a Memory. Last race at Ascot is race 7. It jumps at 4:45. It's the Lynn Ryan Life Member Handicap over 1,400 metres. And our horse in focus will have a look at the last start of Supreme Force.
Supreme Force is starting to sneak home along the rail. Turbo Power on the outside, got his head in front of Mrs. Brown's Boy. Pin Son, Harry Thomas trying to bullock into the clear. Little Fish down the outside comes Settlers Creek with a run. At the 100, Settlers Creek, Little Fish have come together. Settlers Creek reaches the lead though, and Settlers Creek has given as a party the 3rd leg of a treble.
Looking at the numerical form of Supreme Force, 11th of 11th, 12th of 13th, it doesn't give you too much confidence, but as we saw in that replay there, it had no luck whatsoever. It's been jumping from sticky barriers, getting back in the field, but last start it had no luck whatsoever. There was no room in the straight for it. I think from the wide gate, gate 12, and Jared Noski jumping back on board, if it begins well, we could possibly find cover, otherwise it will go back. But I think the horse will be best suited being able to build momentum out wide and not having any excuses whatsoever. So it goes on top for me at hopefully an each way price from the 10, which is Fry's Fantasia. It's the stablemate who seems to draw in a really good position, gets blinkers on, which is a nice clue that they might try and settle it a bit more forward. It's coming out of a strongly run race, which I think is always a good pointer coming into these races, and I thought last start it had a few excuses sitting in the breeze. Third pick is the 12 High Tea, who's been really consistent so far this preparation. Last start at York, it was probably a little bit unlucky. The eventual winner, Three Sun, just managed to build a lot of momentum and get it off the bit just coming into the turn. I think it draws a nice soft gate in this event. And my fourth pick is the 6 Three Sun, who was ultra impressive. It built the revs. It's a horse that has plenty of attitude and its own few quirks, but Julian Cockatagelo knows the horse well, and he has shown a bit of tactical versatility on this galloper. It can go forward or settle back depending on how the horse jumps. 5 on top in the last, Supreme Force from 10, Fry's Fantasia, 12, High Tea, and 6, Three Sun. Best bets at Ascot, race 2, number 4, Flower of War, and race 4, number 3, not to be missed. That's all for me here on the box seat. If you'd like to keep up to date with us here at Perth Racing, check out our website or follow us on social media. Until later in the week, I'm Pete Anthonus. Good punting and go well.